Good morning. Welcome to Talkline on the Metro News Radio Network.
Do not attempt to change the station. You are surrounded.
We interrupt this program to bring you an emergency news bulletin. Repeat, this is an emergency bulletin. Keep your radio turned on.
Holy smoke.
From the studios of the West Virginia Radio Corporation and the MetroNews Radio Network, the voice of West Virginia, comes the most powerful radio show in West Virginia. This is MetroNews Talkline with Hoppy Kercheval.
Check set lineup link. Activated Telos telephone. Switch network control from Charleston to Morgantown.
Stand by. Cue Hoppy. You're on.
Good morning. Welcome to Talkline on Metro News in and around the great state of West Virginia. Hoppy Kercheval with you. J.R. Falls, our producer. Matt Sunday with the video stream. You can watch us at wvmetronews.com. 1-800-765-TALK is the number. Email me, talkline at wvmetronews.com. Text me, 304-TALK-304. Tweet me at Hoppy Kercheval. Coming up in just a little bit more on the results of the Federal Railroad Administration investigation just out this morning. Results are posted at wvmetronews.com on the cause of that rail accident last winter at near Montgomery, where those fuel-carrying rail cars derailed, exploded, big fire. And the results of the investigation now known. It was a broken or failing piece of rail. And also, the accident could have been prevented. We'll talk about that this morning. A little bit greater detail with Jeff Jenkins on the scene, and also Sarah Feinberg, who's the administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration. Key early decision in the Don Blankenship trial concerning phone conversations that Blankenship had. Will they be used as evidence? We'll talk with Harvey Payton about that as well. Plus, steam release at 11:33. But first up this morning, most county school board members, questioned in a recent survey, are generally supportive of Common Core education standards, but they also have reservations. The results come from a West Virginia School Board Association survey during a board member training session last month in Charleston. 126 county board members completed the survey, representing about half of all county board members in the state. They were asked a series of questions about Common Core, beginning with this first question. What are your thoughts regarding the Common Core educational standards as they are being considered or implemented in West Virginia? According to the West Virginia School Board Association, of the 113 written responses, 77 could be deemed as favorable toward or supportive of Common Core. However, the rest of those were against for a variety of reasons. Let's explore this a little bit more deeply with Greg Prudich, president of the West Virginia School Board Association, who joins us. Greg, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you, Hoppy?
Thanks for coming on. So what do you make of these results? What do they mean to you?
Well, what they mean to me is our organization is as broad as it is long, and there's a lot of people in the organization. We have 275 members, and they're spread all over the state, and they're like any organization with that many people, you're going to have a variety of viewpoints. I think that what you see is in my observation is as you go north and north central, you see more opposition to Common Core. As you go south, you see less.
Let's take some of the comments that were made by by board members who completed the survey, because I think that while anecdotal, they are also insightful. A central theme among those 77 who could be deemed as favorable toward or supportive of Common Core was stay the course. I get a sense from some of these, Greg, that a lot of school board members are simply tired of changing the standards. For some of these board members, it'd be the third change of standards in the last decade or so.
That's very true. When we get to where we start understanding the standards and our teachers are able to use them efficiently and effectively, we discover that we have new ones now, and we have to go back and retrain, and we have to spend a lot of resource and time. We have to look at our textbooks again and see if they're consistent with the new standards. It creates a lot of inefficiencies. It affects the classroom, and you end up with a child who may, in the course of their education career, have three sets of standards that may not be consistent with one another. Yeah.
Greg Prudich is with us, who's president of the West Virginia State School Board Association, the association that represents county school board members in West Virginia. Those who support the Common Core standards, the 77 of the 113, there were qualifiers, though. There were a lot of things, a lot of comments by board members who saying they think that some of the standards need to be revisited. There were board members who said the parents complained to them that they can't help the kids with the math homework anymore. So there were qualifiers, were there not?
There were, and I think in any large effort like this where you're making a lot of changes, you're going to see that. It doesn't surprise me at all. We have to work through that. We need to look at the standards with a very discriminating eye and make sure that they're what we need and that they'll serve our students best. But again, it doesn't shock me at all that there are people that look at them and go, I'm not sure I like that standard, or maybe perhaps that standard's too young. Perhaps it's a little confusing. It's a large document, and it has a lot of information in it, and you can get lost in the details if you don't take a broader look at it.
33 of the respondents, that is 33 of the school board members, county school board members who filled out the survey, expressed views that the School Board Association says could be considered as against or negative toward Common Core. What's your take on that particular number, and what kinds of things did those board members say in their surveys?
It is consistent with my understanding and talking to different members of the School Board Association. They have a lot of issues with them, the complexity in some instances, the concerns about it being forced down upon us from the federal level. It seems to be a predominant theme that we can do our own and do them better. Those seem to be the ideas that I hear the most at the meetings and from people that seem to not care for the standards as they're currently written.
Greg, again, back to anecdotes, and I hear this is reflected in the surveys. You hear it, school board members hear it, is parents complaining, I can't help my kid with their math homework. I don't understand it. I'm sure you've heard that many times.
Well, I have, and I went through that. I have 4 children; they're all adults now, and there were times when I simply was not well enough informed to help them. They would bring an algebra problem home, and I did it differently when I was in school 2 decades earlier. And so they're saying, that's not how we do it, Dad. That's not what the teacher said. Mm-hmm. So I find myself scratching my head and going, well, I'm not quite sure how to approach this. I relate this very much in my mind to the new math from decades ago, and parents having the same exact complaint. I can't help my child. The distinction, though, I think here is there's a difference between, and you know this, curriculum and standards.
Sure.
What they're getting home is curriculum.
Right.
And so you have a teacher who's trying to, one of the theories behind this process is that you want to go deeper in these types of techniques with math specifically, so a child has a better understanding of not just that, this is oversimplifying, but that 2 + 2 = 4, not just that it does, but why it does. Mm-hmm. And with algebra in particular, that's so important. And so what happens is they get home and it's nothing that they've ever seen before. It's a completely different process, and they go, this makes no sense to me. Why should I take 8 or 10 steps to get to this simple problem instead of taking 3 that I used to do?
Right. Greg Prudich is with us, president of the West Virginia School Board Association survey. That they surveyed school board members, local school board members. They found the majority are generally favorable toward Common Core. 77 out of 113 written responses of school board members generally favorable. 33 generally opposed or have negative views of Common Core. In the letter that accompanied these results, Greg, that you wrote and has been sent to policymakers, the State Board of Education, Dr. Martirano, you cite these results, but you do not say that. You do not recommend any particular course of action. Why not?
Well, because our organization is so big and has so many different points of views. A majority supports Common Core. A large portion does not. That makes it complicated for us. As diverse as an organization as we are, sometimes we're not able to express a policy position that represents the entire organization. It makes it difficult. What we do and what we thought we would do in this instance is here's the information we have. Now, you take that as you move forward in policy making, engaging us as a partner in this so we can try to improve the things people have issues with, repair and fix the things that we can make better going forward. But in terms of making a specific recommendation when it's so close in terms of those that oppose and those that favor, it's hard for an organization as ours to come down on one side or the other.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any personal belief as to whether Common Core should be thrown out and start over, or or simply make changes like Dr. Martirano says they're going to do now and address some of these concerns that parents and school board members and teachers have? What do you think we should do?
Well, I go by what my teachers tell me. They're the experts. And the ones that have really gotten into the processes of this, many of them really like the new engagement, the new processes, the new ideas of going deeper. The standards themselves, the teachers have to learn them again. If we go through this process again, it's going to cost the state millions of dollars. I would rather look at the problems with it and try to repair them. This is me, Greg Prudy, speaking, than to start over again. Because quite frankly, the standards we have now are better than the ones that they replaced.
Greg, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's all right. I was simply going to say they're better than they were. Do they have issues? Yes. My personal opinion, and I think that of many, is we have less issues with the standards now and more issues with the assessment process and the testing that we're using.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another day, but you're right. We need to talk about the testing issue. Greg Prudich, President, West Virginia School Board Association, represents local school board members across the state. Greg, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, good to talk to you. The story, well, I wrote a commentary about it this week. It's yesterday's commentary, but it does address the survey of local school board members in West Virginia about Common Core. We'll be back when we come back. Harvey Payton, the latest from the Blankenship trial.
Hello?
Susan, I need your help.
Sure, what's up?
I need a contractor, and I don't know how to find a good one.
Oh, that's easy. Go to the Home Builders Association of West Virginia. They have a list of all kinds of contractors.
How do I know if they're good? I don't want just anybody.
Well, do your homework. Are they licensed and insured? Check their references and look at what they've done. Do people like them? And most of all, be sure to get a clear written contract.
Okay, where do I find this association?
Go to hbawv.org.
hbawv.org.
That's it.
Your dreams built by the best. Contact the Home Builders Association of West Virginia for a list of professionals in your area. Go to hbawv.org today. This message brought to you by our marketing partners, Lowe's of North Central West Virginia, Brick Street, 84 Lumber, Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh, ProBuild, SJ Needhawk, Valcon, Wincor, and West Virginia Housing Development Fund. The Home Builders Association of West Virginia. Go to hbawv.org today.
Hi, it's Tony Caridi. It's Ram Truck Month at Northside Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Truck in Summersville. In honor of the grand event, you can save huge on Ram trucks. Get a 2015 Ram 1500 Crew Cab 4x4 with a 5.7 Hemi, 20-inch chrome wheels, trailer tow group for the low price of $32,945. It was $42,525. That's a savings of over $9,500. This is only a sample of the great deals going on at Northside Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Trucks in Summersville. Get them while they last. Come in and experience the difference of a Northside deal.
This is Talkline on MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Gosh, cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior, or at advanced technologies, or stop at that gas station, or from going over bumps, or rocks, or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Let's go to the Don Blankenship trial. Federal prosecutors presenting their case. Key development, though, away from the jury is this. And the judge is deciding this. Maybe she's already ruled this morning. I'm not sure. But there are 21 audio recordings that were made by Blankenship that federal prosecutors want to use as evidence. Harvey Payton joins us. He's serving as our legal consultant on this trial. Harvey, good morning. What's the significance of these audio recordings?
Well, the significance is, of course, that they are Mr. Blankenship's words coming from his mouth. I mean, he somehow took it upon himself to tape record or audio record telephone calls he was having during his tenure as CEO at Massey with other individuals about any number of topics related to corporate governance. And some of those calls, which were referred to specifically by the United States Attorney in his opening statement, relate to, for instance, black lung testing programs, to production, to the desire to increase the value of stock options. So those portions of the recordings that are deemed admissible by the judge now support the government's theory that greed was a motivator, the desire to maintain the value of stock, and that the conversations regarding safety programs indicate a disregard or the promotion of an atmosphere or attitude to violate safety laws in favor of profit.
What was the defense's argument on those audio recordings?
Well, the defense's argument is twofold. One, of course, they object to the recordings at all. And then again, but that's not going to happen. The judge has already ruled that portions of these tape recordings are admissible. The defense yesterday put forward what's essentially a fairness and completeness argument, saying, well, if the jury's going to hear a portion of these tapes, they should hear more of the tape or the entirety of the tape. Mm-hmm. Well, that's already been ruled on by the judge as well. I mean, many of these tapes, as I understand it, they're self-selected by Mr. Blankenship. And obviously there's always the possibility that one could self-selectively record oneself making any number of exculpatory statements simply for the purpose of using those in the future to mitigate liability in a civil case or in a criminal prosecution. So they're hearsay. They're not admissible. They're self-serving. But the trying to get at least a half a loaf, the defense now says, well, if you're going to include these snippets, can we include others that more likely support our position of the case? And that's what the judge was asked to decide. Last evening, she took the portions of the tape the government proposes to play today and admit into evidence, and she took a summary prepared by the defense of that which they proposed to introduce and was due to announce her ruling this morning, which I assume she will do shortly.
Okay. Harvey Payton's with us. Harvey, let's turn to some of the testimony yesterday. There was a former UBB minor, Bobby Pauley, female, Bobby Pauley testified, and she said that when she was working as a red hat, that is a minor in training at UBB, that she was instructed to do things she had learned not to do during training. Once, she said, once brought on permanently by Massey later that year, she ran a continuous minor. She testified that the safety programs were thought to be a joke to minors underground. Of course, the defense got a chance to cross-examine her, so give me both sides. What was the significance of her testimony from the state perspective, and how did the defense counter that?
Well, from the state perspective, it supported their position that there were widespread violations of significant federal mine safety standards. The lady testified that she was led by a section boss to raise a caution tape and operate a piece of machinery in by that caution tape. When she had been taught that wasn't appropriate, she was asked by the same section boss. Now, he wasn't really a section boss because he didn't have a mine foreman's papers. He was a man supervising red hat miners, but he instructed her and others to crawl under a moving belt. They ran shoveling loose coal on a belt, and that's just not ever permitted. Shouldn't be done. She testified that she had seen, at least on one occasion, a section boss ask a man for his dust pump. A dust pump is a little device that measures dust levels in the air, pulls in air through a filter, and you can take the filter out then and measure and he took the dust pump out and hung it on a bolt or something on the rib out by where they were working. Now, obviously, those are violations.
So she testified that she witnessed violations inside the mine, which bolsters the prosecution's case that there were these was willful neglect of mine safety procedures there. What did the defense do on the cross, and what was the impact of the cross-examination?
Well, on cross-examination, and during her direct examination, when there were objections interposed by the defense, the U.S. attorney posed the question to this young lady, were these occurrences common? That drew an objection and a conference at the bench, and the basis of the objection was competence. How do you know what was common? You know what you saw, what you did, but how do you know what everyone else did? And after a conference, then the question was posed, how often did you observe any issue with the dust pump? And then her answer was, well, about once every 6 months. And under cross-examination, that was reduced even further to twice during her 2+ years working at the mine.
What'd they get on the cross about her, and because they went to a point of her encounters with Blankenship after UBB?
Well,
and why was that significant if it was? And I got 60 seconds here.
Okay, it was significant because he closed off the witness. In other words, you can't take a chance that this witness is going to say that Mr. Blankenship told me directly sometime during the conspiracy period to violate the law.
Okay.
And so he, in casual questioning, said, have you ever spoken with Mr. Blankenship? Yes. When was the first time? And she said, at the memorial service. Well, that, of course, tells the jury, and they'll be reminded again in closing, she never saw or heard from this man during that period. So how can she say what he said? I mean, I think that closes that witness off.
What do you mean closes that witness off? Do you think then the defense did a good job of negating her testimony?
I think it was a neutral. I don't think she was a particularly good witness for the government. She was a neutral. I don't think she was a bad witness. She was obviously telling the truth. She was an honest, straightforward person. But as all witnesses are, unless they're restrained by the court, they tend to overstate things. And so it appeared at the conclusion of the cross-examination that she had made some overstatements that on further examination turned out to be more limited in scope than one would believe.
And there was no smoking gun. Blankenship told me directly to do this. So you didn't have that, right? Okay. I got to break. Harvey Payton's following the trial for us. Legal counsel and advisor on this trial. Harvey, thank you very much. Good insights. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Harvey. Take care.
All right, man. And you can see more at our website, wvmetronews.com. Jeff Jenkins and Harvey kind of wrapped up yesterday's testimony. There's video there of them and more. This is Talkline on Metro News. Metro News is the voice of West Virginia. 10:30, let's get a news update. Check in with the Metro News Radio Network and find out what's happening statewide this hour, all across the great state of West Virginia.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Carrie Hudasek. The Federal Railroad Administration says a broken rail caused the February CSX train derailment in Fayette County. At this hour, FRA Administrator Sarah Feinberg is in Montgomery announcing those details, along with rail safety guidelines and changes in an effort to keep a similar accident from occurring. The crash destroyed a home in Mount Carbon and forced the evacuation of hundreds of residents in the area. Another day of testimony in the former Massey Energy CEO Don Blankenship criminal trial. On Thursday, federal prosecutors told the jury they planned to use bits of audio recordings Blankenship made in the months leading up to the Upper Big Branch mine explosion in 2010 that killed 29 miners. Metro News legal analyst Harvey Payton says the defense argued if the recordings are allowed, the whole conversation should be played.
The whole move by the defense is to put this into context, to narrow this down to a contextual basis, and take the sting out of individual words and phrases.
Testimony continues today at the federal courthouse in Charleston. Police in Wheeling are investigating a deadly shooting that happened early this morning. One person is dead and another injured following shots that were fired on 15th Street across the street from the WTRF building. No other information was released. Different traffic patterns will take effect this evening for the WVU Homecoming Parade. Morgantown Police will restrict parking on the High, Prospect, and North High Streets in Morgantown beginning at 5:30. The parade begins at 6:30. You're listening to Metro News for 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Hey-ho, Bigfoot here. You know, mythical creature from the woods. Today I saw something I couldn't believe existed. The new Honda Pioneer 1000. Whoa, man, it's a beast with a best-in-class 999cc engine and the industry's only 6-speed, fully automatic dual-clutch transmission. This thing's real, it's big, and it's here. Check it out at pioneer1000.honda.com.
Pioneers are for drivers 16 years and older. For your safety, read the owner's manual. Wear a helmet and eye protection. Always wear your seatbelt and keep the side nets and doors closed.
It's getting harder to make ends meet, and when you can't keep food on the table, it's pretty devastating. There is assistance, but applications can be confusing. Catholic Charities West Virginia is making it easier by helping families learn about and enroll in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, so they can get the healthy foods they need. Call 844-292-3217 to learn more. Because if one person is going hungry, that's one too many. Catholic Charities West Virginia is an equal opportunity employer and service provider, funded in part by USDA and the Walmart Foundation.
A candlelit vigil brought the Winfield community together last evening in Putnam County in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Hosted by the Putnam County Stop Team, Sydney Smith-Watkins says some people don't realize the devastating effects of violence.
People aren't as aware of how ravishing it is in our homes, of how hard it is on our children, and so education is definitely key in helping people understand the issues that arise with domestic violence.
The event was held at the Putnam County Courthouse. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Carrie Hudasek.
Talkline on Metro News Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank member, FDIC. Earlier this year, there was a train derailment near Montgomery. Tanker cars carrying fuel, big explosion, and we now know the cause of that accident. We're going to get to that in just a moment with Jeff Jenkins. But first, let me go to Capitol Hill and Fox News Radio's Jared Halpern. And Jared, I got an idea. Why don't they just put all the chairs around and play music, and then stop the music?
They're going to have to draw straws or put names in a hat.
Yeah, what happens now?
Strap somebody down to become speaker at this rate. Nobody wants the job.
Yeah. So
what nobody that can get, and that's so. I was just down in the basement here at the Capitol. The House Republicans had a meeting, a conference, as it's called here, to try and just figure out the path forward. Seems that path is not yet charted. I'll tell you what. Everybody, not everybody, but nearly everybody that I spoke to that walked out of that room was glowing about Paul Ryan becoming Speaker of the House.
Mm-hmm.
There's a problem with that, right? Paul Ryan doesn't want to be Speaker of the House. I talked to Trey Gowdy about it, and Trey Gowdy said, so I think one of the other reporters said, well, is this just about his wife and kids? And Trey Gowdy said, well, I think that's a pretty big just.
Yeah.
That's a big reason. I asked Trey Gowdy what would it take for him to get in the race, and he said to me, and I want to get this quote right, the audible voice of God.
What is going on over there, man? I mean, it's and McCarthy.
Hoppy, you don't have to be a member of the House to be the Speaker.
But I don't want that. I don't want that. No, I don't want any of that.
A nice one-bedroom.
I don't want
right here on the hill.
I don't want any of that at all. Let me
John
put
Boehner's
you.
Probably moving out soon. You can get his pad.
What's the possibility that Boehner just stays on for a while?
Well, Boehner's going to have to stay on, and he said that to the conference today. That until they figure this out, he's Speaker of the House. Now, there's a caveat. Remember, one of the reasons he decided to resign was this sort of lingering motion to vacate the chair, the Freedom Caucus, this bloc, 30, 40, however many it is, conservatives don't want Boehner in office anymore. He didn't want to put the House through that, so that's why he said he stepped down. I talked to Tim Hillscamp yesterday, who's the chairman of the Tea Party caucus, when I said, listen, isn't the outgrowth of all of this, with you guys forcing out McCarthy and the like, that John Boehner just stays on now indefinitely? And he said, no, that resolution of disapproval still exists. John Boehner needs to get out of here. So that sentiment's still there. I think that the reality remains before John Boehner resigned, and that was the votes weren't there. He would have survived that vote, and if it were to come to it again, I think he still survives the vote. But the whole point of him resigning, you'll recall, was so that vote didn't happen, didn't want to put the House through it. The reality is, if this drags on beyond October, the House may go through that.
Jeez. Jared Halpern, Fox News Radio, with the continuing circus on Capitol Hill. Jared, great job. Thank you very much. Good talking to you.
I'll tell you what, it's been a fun 48 hours here.
No shortage of things to report on. Thanks, Jared. Jared Halpern from Fox News Radio on Capitol Hill. As I told you, the Federal Railroad Administration announcing today the results of their investigation into that derailment near Montgomery earlier this year with all those tanker cars, big explosions and fire. Jeff Jenkins has the results of that investigation and joins us on Metro News Talkline from the scene where they released those results this morning. Jeff, what happened?
Yeah, I'm in Montgomery here, and Federal Railroad Acting Administrator Sarah Feinberg gave the results of the investigation. It's basically a broken rail that caused it, and just a fracture in the rail. And a fracture that investigators say should have been caught because there were investigations of the rail by a contractor for CSX, which does this all the time. There were inspections in December of last year and in January of that rail, and it was missed. It was an assumption was made by the inspector because they go along in the trucks. People have seen trucks on railroad tracks, and that's basically what they're doing. Sperry Rail Services is the company, and they go along the railroad tracks, and they have equipment that measures, that looks at those rails, sensing, have a sensing apparatus that senses the rail.
Right.
And there was a reading there that the rail was rough, that there might be something wrong with it, but the operator assumed that it was just really the rough rail, and he didn't get out and take a closer look, with a visual investigation. And so that's what happened. The train wasn't going too fast. The train wasn't too heavy. I mean, all the other things you look for, that might be causes weren't causes. The train was legal. The train was going the speed it should be going. It was the rail. And as I talked to the chief investigator after the news conference of the FRA, he said it could have been any train. Any train. That was just the point that it happened.
It just finally gave way. It just finally gave way, right?
It finally gave way. It was cold and snowy.
Right.
He said the weather had nothing to do with it. The weather had nothing to do with it. This is a piece of track that has been there since the 1990s. Tracks are replaced. It depends on where they are, if they're in a curve, if they're in an incline. I mean, they're replaced for all different types of reasons. So this rail itself had been there since the 1990s. And the chief inspector also told me that they found this rail underneath one of the burning cars. That it was found right underneath one of the burning cars. So they were able to pretty quickly say, oh, yeah, it's a broken rail. And it just sounds like it didn't take them too long to piece this thing together.
You know what's problematic about this, Jeff? And I know, and Sarah Feinberg we'll be talking to her shortly, I presume, is that if it were operator error and the train was going too fast, you go, oh, okay, well, somebody screwed up here. Of course, we have the same thing here. Somebody's screwing up in that the inspections were being done, and in fact, there was a reading, according to the report, suggesting there was a problem with the rail, but there was no follow-up. So. Yeah. It was an assumption. Yeah.
It was assumption. It was just an assumption, and so now the FRA says, okay, what are we going to do about this? We're going to try, we're going to put out an advisory, urge more closer inspections to be done. They fined both Sperry and CSX, not $25,000. But CSX now was here today, and they say, we have taken a step with Sperry to do a better job. They've got this new process where they'll compare past inspections of the same line with current inspections and try to tell from that information if there might be problems in these particular areas. So they're using this new process, which they say is already caught some problems in some other areas.
Okay. All right, Jeff Jenkins. By the way, what's that? Were you down where the derailment actually took place? Did they have it near there? What's it look like now?
It's just it's clean gravel, and clean gravel and new track, and it's just amazing how, because it's right on the end of that community, which is called Dina Village, and so if it's and I was just reminded today, if it's just a few hundred feet one way or the other, you're going to wipe out a lot of that community. It obviously destroyed one house. There was one injury, but it just where it happened, even though it was tragic, was really fortunate.
Yeah, and that one guy in that house was able to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's stories posted at WVMetroNews.com, including a link to the findings of the Federal Railroad Administration. Jeff, thank you. Jeff Jenkins from the scene in Montgomery, where the Federal Railroad Administration released the report on that accident earlier this year. And again, it's posted at WVMetroNews.com. We also expect to talk to the acting administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration, Sarah Feinberg, shortly, or before steam release. Coming up next, the voice of high school sports in West Virginia, Fred Persinger.
True to its motto, wild and wonderful, West Virginia is the third most forested state in the country for landmass and has 7 million more forested acres now than 100 years ago. The mountain state is abundantly blessed with valuable renewable forest resources, which naturally regenerate for future generations. Forestry is the basis for over 5,000 separate wood and paper products, creating millions of dollars in state revenue from business income and property taxes. A message from the West Virginia Forestry Association, WVFA.org.
Hi, it's Tony Caridi with a question. What can a video do for you? Well, if you're in business or part of an organization, let me tell you what videos have done for our clients at Pikewood Creative. Our commercials have generated millions of dollars in new business. Our long-form videos have helped capital campaigns raise tens of millions of dollars. That's what a video can do for you. If you have a need, then visit us at pikewoodcreative.com. That's Pikewood Creative.
Staying independent to serve you better. PAIS Independent Service Coordination helps families of persons with intellectual or developmental disabilities find the right services to help them reach their dreams and goals. Since they're independent of any service providers, PAIS will help you coordinate the resources that best meet your needs, and your loved one will receive the care they deserve. Go to PAISWV.com to learn more. PAIS Independent Service Coordination, helping people help themselves.
You're listening to Talkline on Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Gosh, cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest, because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior, or at advanced technologies, or stop at that gas station, or from going over bumps, or rocks, or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
I'm wearing my fur pajamas.
Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank member FDIC. Here in West Virginia, there are two great jackpot games you can play from the West Virginia Lottery. Powerball has drawings on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Mega Millions has drawings on Tuesdays and Fridays. The Powerball jackpot is $60 million. The Mega Millions jackpot is $65 million. Please play responsibly. The voice of high school sports in West Virginia is Fred Persinger. Fred, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm fine, Fred. So tonight, week 7, what are the big games we're following on MetroNews, on the high school scoreboard, and on Game Night?
Well, I think in single A, let's start there, because in single A, you got number 4 out of Chapmanville. They're the double A ball club that's 6-0. They're going to travel to Man, who's number 1 in single A. They're 5-0. So you got two rivals, Chapmanville and Man, located so close together, both undefeated. Both have great quarterbacks, Alex Berry for Chapmanville, John Thomas Keffert for the Man Hillboys. I think it's going to be a great ball game. Double A, Kaiser and Bridgeport. I think that's the game both teams had circled.
Yeah.
Kaiser last week stubbed their toe. They went to Hampshire, and Hampshire had not won a game all year. Kaiser had not lost last week. Kaiser upset by Hampshire 13-10. And still, though, I still think that game has a lot that both folks everyone wants to see, particularly in the Bridgeport area and the Kaiser area. In AAA, got a big one at Pawnee Lewis Field tonight in Morgantown. The Wheeling Park Patriots, they're 3-1-1 with that one tie to Bridgeport, of course. Morgantown 5-1. Morgantown's only lost to Martinsburg. I thought they rebounded nice. They went back to the Eastern Panhandle last Friday night, beat a Musselman ball club that's having a good year as well. So that's a big game. Maybe the biggest game in the state in AAA is tomorrow afternoon. Number 1, Cabell Midland, 6-0, at number 5, Huntington. They're 5-1. Two close rivals up on the hill at Bob Sang Stadium. So a lot of good games once again across the state.
What are your broadcast plans tonight?
Well, we go on the air at 9:30, myself and Dave Jekyll, our entire game night crew, and we'll have all the scores. Most of our affiliates on game night join us shortly after 10 as soon as their game is over with, and then we go until midnight giving all the scores, talking with a lot of play-by-play guys. Got a lot of coaches calling in this year, which we love, and we're getting a lot of players on as well. And, of course, our AARP Scholar Athlete is going to be announced tonight, and I know who that is, and that's another great recipient of a very, very nice award.
Got it. Fred Persinger, the voice of high school sports in West Virginia. Fred, thank you very much. Let's go to Shauna Johnson of Metro News at the Federal Courthouse in Charleston on an update on the Blankenship trial. Shauna, good morning. What's happened this morning?
Good morning. Right now, the jury's on a break, Hoppy, but right before the break, an MSHA program analyst, Tyler Childress, was on the stand, and what he's doing is he is going through the many violations recorded at the Upper Big Branch mine, focusing on a period between January 2008 and April 9th of 2010. That's the period of time that Blankenship is accused of leading a conspiracy of mine safety violations at the Upper Big Branch mine. Earlier today, Judge Irene Berger started off by ruling on a number of defense motions dealing with recordings that Blankenship himself made in his office. The defense had objected to those being included, but Judge Berger has cleared the way for more than 20 recordings to be part of this trial. She has excluded 3 of them, and the defense had also moved to have some additions made to what the prosecution wanted to bring, meaning they wanted to put some of those recordings in context. The judge has allowed just a couple of additions to those tapes. I'd like to point out this is day 3 of testimony. We're on witness number 3 for the prosecution here at the Charleston Federal Courthouse.
Got it. Shauna Johnson, Metro News at the courthouse with an update on the Blankenship trial. Appreciate it, Shauna. The significance there in the recordings can be admitted as evidence. That is important for the prosecution because they said in their opening statements that by Steve Ruby, the assistant federal prosecutor, that you would hear from Blankenship in his own words. And Blankenship had a recording device in his office of some kind, so he had recorded conversations. That's prosecution evidence. That's what they want to enter, to have Blankenship in his own words. So about 20 recordings going to be introduced. There will be some, and the defense, A, wanted to keep them out, was unable to do that, and B, wanted other phone conversations to provide more context about those conversations, and a couple of those are going to be admitted. More at our website at wvmetronews.com. Stay with us.
This Saturday, the West Virginia Mountaineers return home for a Big 12 matchup against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. We'll start at 4 o'clock on the Jeep Gold and Blue Countdown, followed by the Sports Brunch with this week's special guest, WVU Hall of Famer and former NFL player Bo Orlando. From 7 until 10, it's Game Line. Then our post-game discussion starts on the Gold and Blue Wrap-Up, presented by the West Virginia Oil and Natural Gas Association. Don't miss game day coverage at its best here on Metro News.
Constantly checking your business checking? Switching to an MVB Bank Foundation business checking account makes your cash management easier with no minimum balance, no monthly service fees, up to 500 free transactions per month, and access to MVB where you work. Visit MVBbanking.com to see how MVB Bank helps you build a foundation for your business. MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC. Transactions are checks paid and deposited and ACH debits. $50 minimum deposit to open, 20 cents for each transaction over 500.
This is Talkline on Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior, or at advanced technologies, or stop at that gas station, or from going over bumps, or rocks, or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Noticed yesterday that the fall colors are, well, you can't automatically identify peak because it peaks at different times, right? I mean, it's peak one place, another place it's past peak, another place it's not peak yet. But your fall foliage guide from the West Virginia Department of Travel and Tourism is available. You can pick up one at one of the travel centers in the state, or you can call 1-800-CALL-WVA. 1-800-CALL-WVA to get your fall foliage guide. And also, share your fall photos. Everybody thinks they can take great pictures, so go ahead and take one of those and post it on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram using hashtag #GoToWV or hashtag FallInWV. So share them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hashtag #GoToWV, hashtag FallInWV, or call 1-800-CALL-WVA to order your guide, or stop by the nearest West Virginia Welcome Center or the South Charleston office to pick up your fall foliage guide. One peculiar aspect of this whole argument over who will be the next House Speaker, and with Kevin McCarthy pulling out yesterday and throwing everything into an uproar, is there has been a dichotomy in the media as to how this has been reported. Because some in the media and frankly, a lot of very conservative blogs have focused in on McCarthy's alleged affair with another member of Congress. The alleged affair with Republican Renee Elmers from North Carolina. And that has been, there's a liberal, Huffington Post, which is liberal, reported it, but there's a lot of conservative blogs that have been on it too, because the thinking being that they wanted to undermine McCarthy because they wanted somebody more conservative, like Webster, who has no chance of winning, but the thought being to undermine Kevin McCarthy. Now, some media have just ignored that completely. I mean, watching CNN this morning or Fox, I don't think they've touched on the alleged affair at all. Although that's been out there, and you even if you've just watched CNN or Fox, you might have picked up a slight drift of it, but other media are just all over it and reporting his name and her name and linking them together. And I think, in fact, there was a question to McCarthy about that yesterday at his news conference. He kind of dismissed it like, come on. Nah, come on. So forget about it. So that's out there too, and it's weird because clearly it has a part of this story, and everybody in Washington inside the loop is talking about it or apparently knows about it, but the media are staying away from it because they don't think it's relevant or they don't want to, it's not really part of the story, and so there's a big part of the story that everybody knows in D.C. that's not being reported to the rest of the country. So that's one part of it. The second part of it is, my perspective is that the Republicans in the House are starting to act like a circular firing squad here. This is, and I know that some of you who are really conservative, you really want this to happen because you don't want the country club, mainstream, been in Washington power Republicans. Okay, I get that. But you also have to, at some point, get a speaker. I mean, you have to. I don't think you can. I don't think 20 or 30 people in the House should be able to hold hostage this process. You don't have enough votes to get one of your caucus elected. Okay, well, that's not what we want to do. We want to have our voice heard. We want to make sure that somebody from our caucus is in this leadership position. And it strikes me as frankly somewhat selfish and also dysfunctional. And I was talking to somebody about this last night. And as soon as I say this, some of you, the top of your heads are going to blow off because you can't stand this. You like what's going on with this. But the government, to me, this is another indication of the dysfunction in Washington. And at some point, you got to do Reagan, Tip O'Neill. You got to do Clinton, Gingrich. And you got to function. You got to find a way to function and do the necessary business of the people, to get a highway bill, to get a budget. Well, but the Democrats are holding things up on the Senate side. Yeah, I don't understand that. But this is not helping. It's not helping. 1-800-765-8255, 1-800-765-TALK, email, talkline at wvmetronews.com. Send me a tweet at Hoppy Kercheval. Now, coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk with Sarah Feinberg. Sarah Feinberg is the acting administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration. So we're going to talk to her when we come back at 06 about her take on what happened near Montgomery, why it happened, and what the Federal Railroad Administration will do to try to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Also, House Speaker Tim Armstead will join us, and Brad Howell will be by to talk about the WVU Oklahoma State game tomorrow and Dave Wilson on the Marshall game against Southern Miss. And Steam Release coming your way at 11:33. Okay? All that's coming up next hour. This is Talkline on Metro News. Metro News is the voice of West Virginia. Talkline on Metro News. Welcome back for hour number 2. Hoppy Kercheval with you. Let's get back to this. The findings of the Federal Railroad Administration of the accident earlier this year near Montgomery, where all those fuel-carrying rail cars derailed and exploded. Federal Railroad Administration releasing their report this morning. It's posted at wvmetronews.com. Had a broken rail and also an inspection that essentially missed it. Sarah Feinberg is the administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration, joins us on Metro News Talkline. Sarah, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Hoppy. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So, Sarah, the finding says that the rail in question had what's known as a VSH, a vertical split head. What is that in lay terms?
Right. So it's a little bit complicated. So basically the cause of this accident was a broken rail. The reason that the rail broke when the train transversed, when the train went over top of it, was because it had a defect called a vertical split head defect. And it's actually exactly what it sounds like. So vertical, so up and down the rail, split, so it basically cracks the rail in two, right side and the left side. Head, so it starts at the head of the rail and works its way down. Defect, so it's a defect in the rail. So basically, what the FRA wants is for railroads to find defects like this as soon as possible before they result in what happened here in West Virginia, which was basically a catastrophic failure of a rail.
Which could, as according to the finding, was preventable. There's no equivocating here. Was preventable.
That's what we believe. So, the railroads do regular inspections on rail, and in this case, they did a specific kind of internal rail inspection where you're actually using equipment to look inside the rail for defects. They did that in December, and they did it again in January, and both times our investigators believed that there was evidence of this defect present, that the equipment was giving the indication of the defect. And the railroad really should have been able to spot it and to fix it before it turned into this broken rail.
Sarah Feinberg is with us. She's the administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration. Results out of that investigation, and you all do point to the fact that the rail was inspected by Sperry Rail Service, which was contracted by CSX Transportation to do that. So it's your all's belief that the inspection should have revealed this, that once it was detected, which the Sperry operator just apparently dismissed as something else, but you all believe he should have stopped, gotten out, and physically looked at it.
That's right. So railroads regularly inspect their track, and when there's an indication of a potential defect or flaw, the inspector should really be taking a closer look. You shouldn't be bypassing that defect and assuming that it's nothing or thinking you'll just check it next time you come around. When you are inspecting track, you should be taking indications of flaws very seriously, getting out, doing a closer look, a closer check, making sure that you are seeing everything you can possibly see. And our message today is that when you're talking about these routes that are carrying crude oil, massive tonnage, really long key trains, unit trains carrying 100 tank cars loaded with crude oil, the stakes are really high. Think about how high the stakes are for places like Montgomery, West Virginia, Mount Carbon, Charleston. We've got a lot of trains coming through, and we've got a lot of hazardous material, and it's really important that we find every defect and that we repair it before it becomes a broken rail.
Sarah, I should ask somebody else this, but you're on the line. Do Sperry and CSX, do they concur with the finding, or do they challenge that finding?
Oh, I'll leave that up to them to answer. We just announced the findings of the investigation today. My guess is they're digesting the fines and the penalties. But look, one of the things that I said today is that, CSX, as we've been talking to them throughout this investigation, they've taken one really important step, which is they are using some cutting-edge technology now since this accident to take a look at all of the data that they collected in previous inspections and compare it to the data they're collecting in real time so that they can see, where defects are getting worse, where potential cracks or flaws are growing, so that they can get on top of fixing problems early. So, I do want to applaud them for that. I don't think any other railroads are doing that at the moment. CSX is having a lot of success with it right now. They said to me yesterday they think they found 3 defects they probably would not have found otherwise if they weren't using this technology. So I'll leave it to them to respond to the findings of the investigation and to the fines and penalties. But I will say I'm pleased that they have taken an opportunity to really double down and make sure that they're doing everything they can possibly do.
Sarah Feinberg, administrator of the Federal Railroad Administration, also West Virginia native. And those results released today, posted at WVMetroNews.com. Sarah, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Hoppy. Take care.
All right, good to talk to you. You can read the report at WVMetroNews.com. Let's go to Tim Armstead. Tim Armstead is the House Speaker of the West Virginia House of Delegates. Tim, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Hoppy. Doing well. How are you?
I'm fine. Let me switch gears. Earlier this week, Governor Tomlin announced a cutback of 4% for all state agencies, most state agencies, I should say, and 1% in public education, hiring freeze, unnecessary travel being eliminated, those kinds of things. And we haven't had a chance to talk since then. Your assessment of the governor's steps and the state's financial condition.
Well, I think that you're certainly looking at the numbers over the last few months as we enter into this fiscal year. They're really sobering because, and the primary driver of it is, of course, the severance tax, the coal and gas severance tax. So I think that there certainly was a need to act, and I think it's certainly it's going to be painful. It's going to be hard for some of these agencies to absorb this. On the other hand, I think there are certainly a number of agencies that they'll be able to absorb this fine. I mean, I think we've said all along that we believe there's a lot of sort of fat in our budget that can be cut. So I want to say that I appreciate that rather than going out and trying to push for additional taxes or anything like that, the governor's, I think, taking a responsible approach of going in and saying we need to cut our current budget.
Tim, and House Speaker Tim Armstead is with us. And the budget, as you know, and this a lot of folks may not realize this, it's not just a budget, and when you cut 4%, like you go, there's like, okay, everything gets cut 4%, because there are any number, any number of what we could call buckets or directed spending that is really kind of off the table. You can't touch it because there are fees that come in and are assigned to various line items. And there's a lot of money there. I mean, should government look at that as well?
Absolutely, and I think we certainly are looking at that. The other thing I think we've got to keep in mind here is that, as we've said all along, this is a very large budget, and to say that we can't make these types of cuts in a budget of this size is really just unreasonable. I mean, I think we certainly know that there are ways that we can cut back. It's what families do when they have, a shortage. They have to cut back and just make, they can't do everything they may want to do. And that's what we need to do as state government. So you're exactly right. We're looking at a lot of steps that we can take along those lines. We will certainly be back into this when the session starts in January, looking at some of those funds, as you've mentioned, and how we can tap into those to balance our budget.
Yeah.
So you're exactly on point there. I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff, it's just in code. Well, the money that comes in from here goes to there. It's in code, so you can't do anything unless you change the law, right? Is that right or not?
Right. And there are, and then there's dedicated revenue sources. And I'm not a big fan in general of dedicated revenue sources because I think that limits our ability to set priorities.
Absolutely.
I think you put money in the general revenue fund, and then you make the choices and you do the things that need to be done, and the things that you might like to do if you had enough money are the ones that have to fall by the wayside. But the thing that I think is really has to be emphasized here is that if you look at these numbers, that the reductions that have taken place of this nearly $68 million that were in deficit up to this point in the fiscal year, about 2/3 of that is the severance tax.
Yeah.
Coal and natural gas, and so for people to say, well, we really aren't having that much impact from Washington, that has to be Exhibit A of what this is doing to our state's budget, and certainly that for every one of those dollars, we're talking about people's lives that are being affected by this, and it's incredibly disappointing, and it certainly shows that we need to continue this fight against what Washington is doing to our state.
Tim Armstead is with us, House Speaker, Republican from Kanawha County. Tim, do you, and we've talked a lot about the roads, other things, and you say there's money there, we can find money places, but are you taking off the table? Do you want to take off the table before the session even begins any sort of tax or fee increase, or do you believe there would in fact have to be some tax and or fee increase if you're going to dedicate more money to the roads?
Well, let me answer it this way.
Okay.
I don't think we're taking anything off the table and saying we won't discuss it, but at the same time, I think you've got to look at what people can bear, and I think the people of West Virginia are having a hard time making ends meet as it is now. So to be able to say, oh, we're just going to go in and put new taxes on them, it's going to be really hard to do. I think that should be an absolute last resort. I think there are a lot of ways we can do. We can take money, as we said, putting roads high in our priority as an overall portion of our budget should be one of our top priorities. But the way we fund it now, we have, as you mentioned, a couple of dedicated revenue sources, and we don't take money out of the general revenue fund to fund roads.
Right.
So I think that's an antiquated system, as I've said many times. I think we are going to see a number of cuts that we can make and efficiencies we can make through our audit process. We are looking at trying to work with counties and local governments to be able to work with them for them to be able to take on projects within the local level. So there are a lot of things that we can do, and I am certainly not one. I don't believe our Republican caucus in the House is one that's going to run first off and say we just need to raise taxes. That's just not reasonable for the people of West Virginia to be able to bear that. And truthfully, I think people I talk with, and I'm sure you've talked with your hashtag and all, you've talked to a lot of people in West Virginia, and they're saying, look, we pay a lot in taxes now. We have a lot of money in this budget, and you're telling us that you can't fix our roads through those funds. Mm-hmm. Where's that money going? And so I think that's the first thing we need to do is look at ways of, again, putting this as a top priority within our budget.
Hashtag FTDR and Tim Armstead, House Speaker, Republican from Kanawha County. Tim, thanks. Appreciate the time. Thanks for waiting, too.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. When we come back, we're going to talk about we talked about high school football tonight, but also Marshall's in action tonight. We'll check in on that. And WVU with it's cliche. They're all big games, right? WVU and Oklahoma State tomorrow. All that coming up next.
Imagine a scale, and you're trying to balance it. Too much on one side, and it sinks, just like our state's economy. When jobs are centered on one or two industries, the balance is off. Our economy sinks, and good-paying jobs disappear. West Virginia needs a variety of industries, including fossil fuels, small business, and high-tech jobs to bring balance. The High Technology Foundation works to bring those high-tech jobs here. Ask your legislator if they're helping the High Technology Foundation bring balance to our economy. From the West Virginia High Technology Foundation.
Trading in your business fleet or personal vehicle for a new one? Donate your used vehicle to Good News Mountaineer Garage and get the best tax deduction possible and the satisfaction of knowing your donation changed the life of someone in need. Good News Mountaineer Garage repairs donated vehicles and provides them to qualified West Virginia families, giving them access to employment, safe, affordable housing, health care, and other vital necessities, and putting them on the road to economic independence. Call 1-866-GIVE-CAR today for Good News Mountaineer Garage. 866-GIVE-CAR.
You know who taught me to use a hands-free device while driving? My mom. She scared me to death all through school, with that phone up to her ear, driving us back and forth. Now that I'm on the road solo, I tell my mom, I'm worried about you. Go hands-free with the phone when you're driving. I do. It's important to set a good example for parents, so when she rides with me, I turn it off, put it down, and just drive.
The West Virginia Department of Transportation, saving one life at a time.
You're listening to Talkline on MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior or at advanced technologies or stop at that gas station. or from going over bumps, or rocks, or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Talkline on MetroNews. Let's talk about college football. We got Marshall and Southern Miss tonight. Dave Wilson in to talk about that. WVU and Oklahoma State tomorrow. Brad Howe in to talk about that. Dave, let's start with you. What are the storylines for Marshall and Southern Miss at the Joan?
Well, this is not the pushover Southern Miss team that it has been the last two, you can go back maybe 3 years. Todd Monken is in his third year as the head coach there. And all those freshmen and sophomores who were playing and taking their lumps 3 years ago, they're upperclassmen, they're experienced now. They've run in a lot of JUCO guys. They've got some grad transfers as well. And this is a very much improved Golden Eagle team. They've won 3 ball games. In each of those wins, they've been over 50 twice and had 49 in the other game. So they can put up some points. It'll be the toughest offensive test that Marshall's defense has had to face this year.
Yeah, what's the story on Marshall? How are they playing? I mean, ODU, could you judge much from that?
Not a lot, because ODU is extremely, extremely young. But what you were looking for in that game is the maturation process, really, of Chase Litton, the quarterback, and the offense. How is he developing? Is he making the right reads? Is he making the right decisions? And there were a couple of times he didn't make the right decision, or he threw off his back foot. But after the game, and this is what impresses me about him, he knew that, immediately. He's breaking down coverages to me when I barely know what he's talking. Oh, the cover 2 and the safety's here, and he's telling me how he's reading this at the line. It's all pointing in a positive direction. Offensive coordinator Bill Legg said this week, yeah, we're still making mistakes, but not as many as the week before and not as many as the week before that. So they like the direction the offense is going with the true freshman there running things.
So Litton, so they like the guy?
They like true freshman out of Florida. He actually had planned on going to prep school last year, decided against that, so he didn't actually play any ball. He enrolled in January, had a full spring under his belt, and it was a really tight competition through the spring and the first couple of weeks of camp between he and the junior transfer, Michael Birdsong.
Gotcha. All right, Dave Wilson. And, Dave, we appreciate it. Marshall and Southern Miss tonight at the Joan. Where they kick off?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. All right. Thanks, Dave.
Yes, sir.
All right, Brad Howe, Metro News Sports. Brad, one of the questions you're looking at concerning this game against Oklahoma State is the West Virginia offensive line. Did they get revealed last week, or what happened with that? Because now you're facing a team that gets pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, you're right. That's one of the big questions going into this, and so that's the key point. Did West Virginia's offensive line get exposed, or were they simply going against one of the best pass rushers in the country in Eric Stryker, and that caused the bulk of the disruption? So, quite frankly, we don't know the answer. That's exactly what we're looking for Saturday, because if that line doesn't do a better job protecting Skylar Howard, you're going to see turnovers again. And if you see turnovers, then West Virginia's in some trouble.
Teams, they have to adjust as the season goes on. If you're winning, you got to keep the momentum. You got to keep the intensity. If you lose, if you get punched in the face, then the question is, what's your character? How do you respond?
And that's a big question going into tomorrow with the Mountaineers. Is this the first time they've faced any adversity? The first 3 games were all puppy dogs and ice cream. They ran through everybody, dominated every facet of the game. Last week wasn't the same story. There were some flaws. There were some moments where you thought, okay, this thing's getting back together, but some flaws were revealed. How are those things corrected? How does this team step up? Where's the team's leadership, which would be a big question anyway, It's a bigger question that senior leader, All-American Carl Joseph, goes down with a knee injury this week. So who steps up and fills his void, not only on the field, but emotionally and in that locker room?
The Oklahoma State team, and they're 5-0. They're ranked. I think that 5-0, though, that's a little bit of a false narrative because of the way they won the Texas game. That game was going to go into overtime, and Texas muffed the punt. Oklahoma State got the field goal. Kansas State, they got a great call, an erroneous call that gave a first down when this should have been a fourth down. So it's a little bit of a misnomer to say 5-0. It's a 5-0 team, I think.
Yeah, that's right. And I think Oklahoma State and West Virginia are pretty similar teams.
Yeah.
You look at a lot of the stats, they're pretty even
Very
going
close.
into the season. People said you could probably flip a coin between Oklahoma State and West Virginia. I think that's right. I think this is two similar teams. Given that, all things being equal, you default to the home field. And I think that's where I give the edge to West Virginia tomorrow, expecting them to bounce back from the performance, moving forward, playing at home. I like their chances here in Morgantown.
I don't know how many ways we can talk about the difficulty of the October schedule, but that to me is the paramount story for this month. I mean, the fact that Oklahoma State, a ranked team that's 5-0, is looked at as your easiest game, is looked at as your best chance for a win, tells you just how difficult this stretch is.
Well said, and there's many that will tell you this is the toughest stretch in Mountaineer history when you look at all four ranked teams, 3 of them in the top 15, 2 in the top 5, and 3 of those on the road. That's why this stretch is so tough. There's no question West Virginia can play with TCU and Baylor. You saw that last year, but those were home games. So, yes, you need to get this win today or tomorrow, not so much just to get a win in the win column, which you need, but I think psyche-wise and confidence-wise as you head into what are 2 extremely tough games on the road coming up after this one.
Yeah, odds makers, even though West Virginia has a loss, Oklahoma State undefeated, but the odds makers like West Virginia, some 6.5, 6, 6.5. I've seen 7. What's your take on the line?
Yeah, I think that kind of surprised me, to be honest. I thought it'd be more down in that basically a pick 'em, so you default to West Virginia and give them 3 for being at home. I thought maybe in that 3, 4, 5 range. So I was a little surprised to see it at 6 or 7, but that's about where I think it is. I think this is anywhere from a field goal to a touchdown game.
Emotionally, where would this team be after Carl Joseph?
That's a huge question. Again, I hate to say you don't know, but you just don't know. I mean, they've had a couple days to digest it. It could serve, you could get that immediate bounce that it serves as a rallying point because you're at home, you're in your comfort surroundings, you're used to playing here. Maybe you say, hey, let's rally. As you look forward moving throughout the season, though, it's a loss, Hoppy. You can't lose guys that are going to be pros off one of your units and not have it affect you. So it'll have an effect. Just how much is the question.
Brad Howell, Metro News Sports, and he will join us tomorrow, of course, at 4 o'clock. Pre-game coverage begins at 4 o'clock. Metro News Gold and Blue game day coverage starts at 4 tomorrow afternoon, and guess what? Goes all the way to Sunday morning. Brad Howell, thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks, buddy. All right, talk to you tomorrow. Brad Howell, Metro News Sports. Now, I'm going to step aside. I'm going to step aside figuratively, not literally, for steam release. The first hour and a half has gone very fast. It's your opportunity to vent, get it off your chest. What is it that you want to say for the next half hour about whatever's in the news, whatever should be in the news, what's happening in Washington, what's happening in West Virginia, roads, schools, Common Core, and me? That's right. During steam release, you can release steam about me or this program. I don't argue with you. I don't respond. I take it. And that's just kind of, that's my gift to you. It's my gift to you as host of this show because I got the rest of the time. I got the rest of the week to say what I want to say. Steam release is next. Talkline on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia. 11:30, let's get a news update. Check in with the Metro News Radio Network and find out what's happening statewide this hour, all across the great state of West Virginia.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Chris Lawrence. A broken rail is to blame for that massive train derailment in February in Fayette County. Acting Federal Railroad Administrator Sarah Feinberg detailed the findings of their investigation earlier this morning in Fayette County, saying the broken rail came from a vertical split headrail defect and the problem should have been noticed by CSX and its contractor, Sperry Rail Service, when the tracks were inspected twice in the months leading up to the wreck. 27 cars hauling Bakken crude oil jumped the tracks and exploded, leveling a nearby home. A former UBB miner told a jury Thursday she and her fellow miners thought the company's safety plan was a joke.
Bobby Pauley says the safety program was called S1P2, Safety First, Production Second. But miners underground at UBB joked they knew it was the opposite, Production 1 and Safety Second. Pauley testified she had no knowledge of the program, although she worked on the crew that was mining coal daily. She also said she was never given a physical copy but she also didn't say she ever asked for one. Federal prosecutors allege former Massey Energy boss Don Blankenship talked a good mine safety game, but was really skirting safety laws and pushing production at UBB in the months leading up to the 2010 explosion that killed 29 miners.
That's Jeff Jenkins reporting. Testimony has resumed in the Blankenship case this morning. Milton police now say a car which was wrecked on I-64 this week was traveling at more than 100 miles an hour. 56-year-old Richard Booten of Huntington, who died in the crash, was actually test driving that Porsche. You're listening to Metro News for 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Being a great hunter requires a lot of skill and a commitment to safety. Hunting for a great truck, however, only requires tracking down your nearest Ram dealer. That's because Ram 1500 is the only truck with an available class-exclusive eco-diesel engine that gets up to 29 miles per gallon highway and can haul 9,200 pounds. See your local Ram dealer today. Guts, glory, Ram. Class based on light-duty pickups. EPA estimated 29 mpg highway based on HFE EcoDiesel V6 4x2. Actual results may vary. Towing capacity when properly equipped.
There's nothing like walking through the woods during a day of hunting, but be sure you are in appropriate condition to do some physical exertion and know your limitations. One of the biggest causes of hunting deaths in West Virginia is a heart attack, particularly while trying to pull game out of the woods alone. If you're not capable of the task, get some help. And if you can't walk that mountain, don't. Know your limitations and live to hunt another day. This hunting safety message, a service of Ram Trucks, made for those who stand apart. The Mountaineers face Oklahoma State tomorrow night in Morgantown, and the game is pivotal for WVU. Play-by-play man Tony Caridi says they can ill afford to let the loss of their best player, Carl Joseph, this week impact their performance tomorrow night.
It is one of those things where you could simply, look back on it and say, oh, woe is us, and use it as an excuse. Or you can say, okay, he's gone, and we still have 8 regular season games to play, so let's go. I think it'll be the latter.
Kickoff at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Metro News game day coverage starting at 4. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Chris Lawrence.
Folks, I know the steam builds up. I understand. But I have this show, and I tell you, after the show, I'm exhausted. I mean, it's not really that hard, but I get to say everything I want to say. But I don't know what you have.
I don't care if Monday's blue, Tuesday's grey, and Wednesday too. Thursday, I don't care about you. It's Friday, I'm in love.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Folks, I see a vibrating lead pipe, an old lead pipe, the kind you couldn't make anymore, probably. And it's got bad industrial green lead paint on it. And it's in the basement of a building in Charlestown. And it's vibrating because the steam is built up. So you got to release the steam, otherwise you know what'll happen. So that's my metaphor for you, because I know the steam builds up. I mean, I see it. I just since I've been doing this show, just in the last couple of years, I can tell there's a heck of a lot more angst out there. And so we offer as a public service an opportunity for you to release your steam, to vent, get it off your chest. And you know what it is. I mean, everybody's got it. What is it that you need to say? And you call me and release it. It helps to have your thoughts organized. Or you can email me, talkline at wvmetronews.com. You can tweet your steam at Hoppy Kercheval. You can text your steam 304-TALK-304. I'll try to do it as best I can for you. But I give it to you. And if you want, you can release steam about me or this program. And I have to take it because those are the guidelines. 1-800-765-8255, 1-800-765-TALK. Bert, good morning. You're first up on steam release. It's a prime spot. Make us proud.
Hey, thank you, Hoppy. Listen, what steams me is I want to go back to West Virginia's traditional uniforms, blue helmets, blue shirts, and gold pants. That'd be gold and blue. I'm just tired of the different combinations. I mean, go back to something that has worked for us in the past, and maybe we can get back on track.
You got it, Bert. Bert got his steam on. He's going to have a great weekend. That's the whole point. Hey, Mike, what's your steam?
Hey, that guy, he needs to get a life if that's what he's steamed about. But anyway, Hoppy, stop trying to bring tech jobs into the state that is 48 out of 50 in education. No one wants to bring tech jobs here. For crying out loud, can Manchin, Capito, and the governor not understand this? Perhaps they need a better education. Bring in manufacturing jobs. We have the roads, the interstates, the rivers, the trains. Frickin' bring in manufacturing jobs.
Mike got his steam on. He's set for Saturday and Sunday. Hey, Freddie, what's your steam?
Yeah, Hoppy. Last week, Jim called in and said that guy who shot up the people in Oregon was a conservative. Now, it turns out that the man was biracial, which in effect means he was black. I have never seen most people who are biracial or black being conservatives. Looks like Jim was wrong, who in reality is Jethro, who I thought was banned from calling in steam release. Jethro needs to call in and apologize. Thank you, Hoppy, for letting me release my steam.
You got it. That's what we do. 1-800-765-8255, 1-800-765-TALK. Email your steam, talkline at wvmetronews.com. Tweet your steam at Hoppy Kercheval. Text steam 304. Talk 304. Email steam from Bob. If you don't have adequate revenue for roads or anywhere else, it is an additional problem that no amount of prioritization will solve. When will the legislature address this factor that even the blind squirrel could find? Text steam. Hoppy, West Virginia enters the Big 12 and is not produced. Yes, the money's good and recruits are coming, but cannot get over the hump. Time for a change. Hashtag WVU. Brad, welcome to Steam Release. What's your steam, Brad? Hey, Brad, go ahead. What's your steam?
This me?
Yes, sir.
Randy.
Randy, I'm sorry. Randy, go ahead.
I'm steamed at you now, bud.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll tell you what I'm really steamed about. 46%, only 46% of the county Board of Education elected officials responded to the Common Core poll and give feedback on it. I think the education problem starts with the leadership. It don't sound to me like we have any if only 46% could respond. Thank you.
You're welcome, Randy. Sorry I got your name wrong. Hey, Chad, what's your steam?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I wanted to talk about the HR 702, the crude products export bill that's being in front of Congress today for vote. President Obama vowed that he was going to veto it if it came in front of him. And, if he wants to create jobs and everything, he's going to have to do a little bit better idea than just try to continue this farce that is climate change. Now, I'm a petroleum geologist, and I'm in the oil and gas industry, and I have to say there's nearly 300,000 layoffs across the entire United States, and there are people who are hurting. And these are everyday people. These are West Virginians that I see every day who are hurting. All right? So if he wants to do some good, he's going to have to open up domestic oil and gas to be exported to countries, especially Europe. If we export gas and oil to Europe, we can put Putin in a bind, and we can come back on top. But, I know Obama doesn't like to be confrontational, so that could be a bit of an issue. Thank you.
You got it. You got your steam on, well thought out. And that's what we suggest you do. Think it out a little bit, and don't be shy. Don't be shy. See, every week I see somebody, and they say, I was going to call Steam Release, but today's your day. 1-800-765-8255, 1-800-765-TALK. Couple of lines just cleared. Email your steam, talkline at wvmetronews.com. Tweet your steam at Hoppy Kercheval. Text your steam 304. Text steam Hoppy. I just heard the local news talking about the UBB trial. I worked 6 years for Massey, and what she said in testimony was true. We would often say it's really P1, S2. That is production 1, safety 2. Text steam. Hoppy, Katrina hit, Bush no-show. World ends, South Carolina floods. Major event, no Obama, no problem, media bias, says the texter. Take a break and get back. 1-800-765-8255. Email talkline at wvmetronews.com. Line up. More steam after this.
Hi, it's Tony Caridi. If you're in a business or organization that needs visual help, then let's get together and talk. For more than a decade now, those of us at Pikewood Creative have embraced the opportunity to help people just like you tell their story visually. Whether it's a video, commercial, animation, or motion graphics piece, we produce content that make others take notice. We help people increase their business and organizations better tell their story. If you need help, then contact us at pikewoodcreative.com.
Good paying jobs with great benefits are available now. As a correctional officer with the West Virginia Division of Corrections, you'll also have educational opportunities for a degree in criminal justice at reduced prices. High school diploma or GED and drug screening required. Take advantage of an accelerated hiring and training process that other state agencies don't offer. National Guard members get partial credit in the Training Academy. Visit WVDOC.com.
This Saturday, the West Virginia Mountaineers return home for a Big 12 matchup against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. We'll start at 4 o'clock on the Jeep Gold and Blue Countdown, followed by the Sports Brunch with this week's special guest, WVU Hall of Famer and former NFL player Bo Orlando. From 7 until 10, it's Game Line. Then our post-game discussion starts on the Gold and Blue Wrap-Up, presented by the West Virginia Oil and Natural Gas Association. Don't miss game day coverage at its best here on Metro News.
This is Talkline on Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior, or at advanced technologies, or stop at that gas station, or from going over bumps, or rocks, or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC. Steam release 1-800-765-TALK to release your steam. Email your steam, talkline at wvmetronews.com. Tweet your steam at Hoppy Kercheval. Text your steam 304-TALK-304. Hi, Will. What's your steam?
I have some sports team to let go here.
Sure. All right.
It concerns Babe Ruth, Roger Maris, and Hank Aaron. 1961, I believe it was. Maris hit 61 home runs. They put an asterisk by his name. When Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's record, there was no asterisk. And Aaron had played in hundreds of more games than Babe Ruth and had 2,000 or 3,000 more times at bat. Why does he not have an asterisk? It's political correctness, obviously, I think.
All right, you got your steam on. Let's go to Ike. Hello, Ike. What's your steam?
Hoppy, I'm tired of this political correctness bullcrap. It's a sad day in America when a firefighter saves a mom and 3 kids and has half his body burn up, saving him, and it's put on the 6th page of the paper, and because a man or a woman decides that they're coming out to be gay, it's put on the front page. It's a pretty sad day when they got those issues reversed. Thanks.
You're welcome. Hello, Steve. What's your steam?
Yeah, my steam's about Armstead. And by the way, I want to state right off the bat, I'm a Republican. I get sick and tired of the Republicans, no matter come hell or high water, won't raise any fees or anything. They don't want to do anything. They say, well, we'll just find the money. We'll just find the money. You're not going to find the money. You can raise the fees a small amount here and there, and DMV fees and stuff like that, or sticker fees. You know, someone needs to remind them, you know, you're not going to get any manufacturing, distribution, any jobs in this state if you don't have good roads. So, you know, don't forget the old axiom. You have to spend money to make money. I'm tired of against every single tax increase of any type or fee increase because they're afraid they'll get thrown out of office.
Steve, you got your steam on. Let's go to Larry. Hi, Larry. What's your steam?
Well, Hoppy, I've got 5 years of steam built up, and I need to get rid of it.
Wow, okay.
I live in Morgantown. I'm a retired coal miner, a Vietnam veteran, and I support our troops 100%. But I support the troops, not the people that are doing what they're doing to them. I hear people talking about the government is gutting the military. The Pentagon is gutting the military. For 5 years, I've studied this F-35 program that they have that cost $1 trillion. They're $160 billion over budget right now. And the Pentagon decided that $500,000, $500,000 is a reasonable price for a pilot's helmet to fly this cartoon airplane. There's where the problem lies, in the Pentagon.
Got it. Let's go to Jim. Hi, Jim. What's your steam?
Yeah, the F-35 is junk, just like most of our military equipment. But the shooter in Oregon, he was a right-winger, regardless of his race and stuff. And all these shooters, they buy into the right-wing philosophy. I heard on a station in Utah last night, I heard your buddy Hudock claiming that his friend had been arrested and was being held with no charges. So, and black conservatives, Colonel West, Colin Powell, Ben Carson, even Dr. Farrakhan, those are all black conservatives. So let's not say, and you don't hear any mass shootings done by liberals or women. It's always these young males who have been eaten up, fed a bunch of jive about this right-wing philosophy. And you're part of that, Hoppy, because you're all about right-wing philosophy. The golden calf instead of the golden rule. So why don't you wise up and change that a little bit, okay? And be for people instead of impersonal corporations.
All right, got it. Let's go to Ed. Hi, Ed. What's your steam?
Good morning.
Morning.
For the first time in almost 5 years, I tried to listen to WKKX. It was like listening to amateur hour at ESPN or Fox Sports News. Maybe I'll try again another 5 years if they're still on the air.
Let's go to Jeff. Hi, Jeff. What's your steam?
Hey, Hoppy, this is a steam I've had for several years. I continue to have it, and that is I would like an all-cash line or an all-cash concession at the stadium. I am tired of waiting 15 minutes to just get a pop. That's my steam.
All right. Hey, Marcus, what's your steam?
Well, I see that we're paying with the user fee in Charleston. I see that I've been paving these back roads throughout Canal City because of these signs that says paid for by the user's fee. Now, if I'm going to pay for my business to be in Charleston, I would expect these $5 user fees that are going up to that to be used for the right thing besides playing and paving these back streets in Canal City.
Okay, 1-800-765-8255. Email talkline at wvmetronews.com. Tweet me at Hoppy Kercheval. Text me, 304-TALK-304. Text team Hoppy comparing South Carolina to Katrina. People in every something think if a bear poops in the woods, Obama had something to do with it. Let's see. Tweet steam. Gary says, my steam is you don't steam release more often so I can get a read on what the public is thinking. It's good feedback. WA tweets team, those BOE members who cry about Common Core being forced on them by the feds have proven they have no business being on boards of education. Take a break and be back. More Steam Elise coming up. 1-800-765-8255. 1-800-765-TALK. Email talkline at wvmetronews.com. Tweet Steam at Hoppy Kercheval. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Wait, this can't be right. If you bank with MVB, they pay you to use your debit card? Who approved this?
That's right. With MVB's Checking with Cash Back, we pay you to use your debit card. What's more, we give you 2% cash back on purchases when qualifications are met. Open an account online today at mvbbanking.com or visit one of our convenient local branches. MVB, your financial life made easy. Member FDIC. Imagine a scale and you're trying to balance it. Too much on one side and it sinks, just like our state's economy. When jobs are centered on one or two industries, the balance is off, our economy sinks, and good-paying jobs disappear. West Virginia needs a variety of industries, including fossil fuels, small business, and high-tech jobs to bring balance. The High Technology Foundation works to bring those high-tech jobs here. Ask your legislator if they're helping the High Technology Foundation bring balance to our economy. From the West Virginia High Technology Foundation.
Have you ever wondered just who are the Friends of Coal? Well, there are 50,000 West Virginia families who support the state's coal industry, and they look a lot like you. Honest, hardworking, good neighbors who want a future for themselves and their state. They're coal miners, housewives, school teachers, mechanics, doctors, college professors, pizza delivery guys, your friends. The Friends of Coal know and understand the importance of the coal industry to our state's economy. They know about the 60,000 jobs the coal industry creates in our state. They know about the $25 billion the industry pumps into our economy. And they know that without coal, our state would face an economic catastrophe. Come to think of it, that sounds like most West Virginians. Let Congress know you are a proud West Virginian, and you are a friend of coal.
Coal is West Virginia.
You're listening to Talkline on MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
When we made the Jeep Cherokee, we didn't stop at a stunning interior or at advanced technologies or stop at that gas station or from going over bumps or rocks or through rivers. Let's just say we couldn't stop ourselves. One drive and you'll discover why the Jeep brand continues to be the best-selling SUV brand. Join us now during the Jeep Drive and Discover event.
It's a lot easier when you have it on before you get pulled over. Click it or ticket.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank, member FDIC. Here in West Virginia, there are two great jackpot games you can play from the West Virginia Lottery. Powerball has drawings on Wednesdays and Saturdays, Mega Millions Tuesdays and Fridays. The Powerball jackpot is $60 million. The Mega Millions jackpot is $65 million. Please play responsibly. Also, this reminder that the Fall Foliage Guide is available. You can call 1-800-CALL-WVA to get your copy, or stop by a West Virginia Welcome Center, or the Travel and Tourism Office at 90 McCorkle Avenue in South Charleston to pick it up. Your Fall Foliage Guide. And when you take your fall foliage pictures, post them at WV. Post them on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram, and hashtag it. Hashtag go to WV and hashtag fall in WV. Text Steam Hoppy, would you please try to understand that the new prevailing wages are a reduction from the old rates, some as much as $17 per hour. How would you, Hoppy, like to take that kind of pay cut? Ken on Steam release. Hey, Ken, what's your Steam?
Hey, Hoppy. I think the problem we have, and one of your previous callers said it, career politicians. I know it's not in the Constitution, but I think it should be, that these politicians are, they make it a career, and then they get complacent, and then they're driven by those votes. And ever since that census of 2010, the Republicans voted themselves in a corner, and now they have a monster they cannot control. And we have talk shows, either right and left, that keep us separated between Republican and Democrat. We need to get politicians there to do what's right for all Americans. I want to see a guy coming home who lost their job to go overseas and to explain how they're going to pay the bills and go, damn, I want to call my congressman because I want something to do about gay marriage. No, they want about jobs, getting their family a good living wage, and having the American life. You have a good weekend, Hop.
Ken got his Steam on, had it thought out. He's going to have a great weekend. Hi, Erica. What's your Steam?
Hi, Hoppy. I just wanted to say that I enjoy listening to you.
Thank you.
I think you're fair, and I think you do a good job. And the man that called in earlier saying you were part of the problem with the Oregon shooter, I disagree with. Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. That goes in the thin file. Appreciate it, Erica. Let's go to Carl. Hi, Carl. What's your Steam?
That left-wing nut called in earlier. The KKK was started by Democrats. Every presidential assassin in history was left-wing. John Wilkes Booth, Lee Harvey Oswald, Charlie Guiteau, Leon Chalkos. They were all left-wingers, anarchists. Mao Zedong and Karl Marx, they were both communists. And Hitler, Mussolini, and Obama were all socialists, or are all socialists.
Tweet Steam from Aaron. Hoppy, I don't have any Steam. I didn't have any Steam until the guy came on blaming all mass shootings on right-wingers. I think he's drunk on liberal milk. Liberal milk. Don't forget that our coverage tomorrow of WVU and Oklahoma State begins at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock tomorrow. We'll be here, all right? Oh, here's an email, Steam. Hoppy, Governor Tomlin. Hoppy, you missed a big story today. Governor Tomlin appoints another big firm Charleston lawyer to the PSC. Does the governor think folks out here in the provinces are too stupid to serve? Another corporate mouthpiece on the PSC does the people of West Virginia no good, says the Steamer. We got to run. Thanks to J.R. Falls, our producer, Matt Sunday handling the video stream. I'll see you tomorrow starting at 4 o'clock for the Jeep Golden Blue Countdown presented by Jeep. So have a great night. See you at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Talkline on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia.